The mass suicide and murder of more than 900 Americans took cyanide-laced fruit punch from their spiritual father and then lay down to die.
That's the thing about cults. What's shocking to outsiders seems normal to insiders. Is this why unfettered greed seemed normal to bankers? And if so, who was the cult leader here? This is Milton Friedman. We were told that he was the world's most influential economist.
Did government play a role in this? Very little, only by keeping the road clear for human greed and self-interest to promote the welfare of the consumer.
In this book, Friedman used the word freedom 374 times. But by freedom, he didn't mean this. He meant this: the freedom of corporations to profit, no matter the risk to people, and without interference from government.
Dr. Milton Friedman, a scientist, a careful thinker, and a great teacher.
The hero of freedom, Milton Friedman.
I sought out Dr. Friedman and had the great pleasure and privilege of meeting him and his economist wife, Rose. And we've all become friends, and now I call him Milton.
If we wanted to understand the banker's mindset, we needed to find the guru of greed. There was only one problem. But though Friedman had now ascended, his followers carried the flame.
Okay, so we should go in there. Yeah. Oh, great, thank you.
Uncle Milty, I call.
These guys belong to free market think tanks, which have spent billions of corporate dollars trying to make us all believe that if we just let corporations do what they want, everything will work out great.
We're kind of on a quest. We want to fix the world, and we want to know how to do it.
Private property, rule of law, and a market unrestricted by government regulation and control.
When we see companies demonized, we should work against that. When we see the free market system castigated, we must work against that.
More wealth leads to greater efficiency and greater innovation, and basically all good things.
Wealth, money,
privatization,
wealth, money,
individualist freedom,
privatization,
free markets, ownership,
and a great deal of money.
Capitalism and freedom.
Wealth and prosperity.
We were getting the message. And so were millions of others. These guys spread Friedman's free market gospel by any means that they can, like speaking to Congress, viral videos, and guest spots on Sunday morning talk shows. They claim to have derailed the Kyoto Protocol and to have helped destroy regulation around housing, banking, energy, and the environment. They agreed to meet pretty much anyone with a camera, even us.
You see there's a blue screen behind you. Mm-hmm. What would you like to be put in front of?
A planet Earth.
I would say a world in which man is treated as an end in himself rather than a tool to be manipulated by those with political power.
How can we represent that? Is there a single image or a series of images?
I think that the images are of men, just the prosperity of free men, following what their hearts and desires lead them to.
I think we can find that.
Sounds good.
Now that we had our new friends at ease, it was time to ask them the really tough questions.
What would you say to people who harp on the Bhopal catastrophe or other tragedies?
Bhopal is an interesting example, but that facility had created educational opportunities for an Indian emerging technocratic class. It had created value added and tax base for the community, and something like 3,000 people died. That's a tragedy, but there are always risks of going into the future.
There are always risks of going into the future? For thousands of people in Bhopal, there was no future. At least the Jonestown suicide cult killed only themselves. The free marketeers seemed willing to put everyone else at risk. We were confused. As kids, we learned that it was bad to do something bad. And if you did something good, you got a reward. Yet when we announced Dow would do something great, the market gave Dow a spanking. So how could we get companies to do the right thing? We needed to change the rules of the market. But that meant regulation, and regulation meant government. The only problem was, government was drinking Friedman's free market Kool-Aid.
Free markets are working miracle after miracle of economic growth.
Open markets and rule-based trade are the best engines we know of.
But when the government stepped back and let the free enterprise system do its work, then the better we did, the more robust our economy grew, the better I did, and the better my business grew.
For the last 30 years, the leaders of most powerful countries did whatever the free marketeers recommended. And what they recommended was simple.
The solution is not to have government to intervene or regulate in some way.
In fact, most problems will solve themselves if ignored, and let free people working in free markets address them.
Following advice like this, governments around the world got rid of a whole bunch of regulations meant to protect people, like in banking.
I'm confident that the degree of harm or spillover effect, whatever subprime mortgages go bad, that the market will devise ways to minimize and diffuse the negative effects.
Their faith in the market was unshakable, but we all know what happened next.
Now with the world's largest insurance company, AIG, on the brink of collapse, it could mean devastation way beyond Wall Street.
What other disasters weren't coming?
Global warming is silly. It's not a serious issue. Warmer is healthier, and warmer is more pleasant, and that's why states like Arizona keep gaining population rapidly.
There are benefits to global warming. Cold-related deaths will actually decrease considerably.
Just like with the subprime mortgages, our free market friends were doing all they could to stop government from intervening. Except here, the stakes were higher.
I think it's quite possible that if it weren't for groups like ours, that the United States might very well be in the Kyoto Protocol by now.
And if you've seen the ads that we ran about a year ago, which we produced in-house on this global warming, where our essential contention is carbon dioxide, they call it pollution, we call it life.
There's something in these pictures you can't see. It's what we breathe out and plants breathe in. Carbon dioxide. They call it pollution. We call it life.
We got lots of hate mail. 2 senators this past fall sent a letter to ExxonMobil calling on it to stop funding CEI.
So Exxon was secretly paying think tanks to tell us we shouldn't regulate Exxon. Exxon had other ways to influence policy. Like this guy, Lee Raymond. He's a trustee of one of the key free market think tanks. He also used to be Exxon's CEO, and the year he left that job, he became an official advisor to the U.S. government on energy matters. This was scary. If we let the free market cult keep running the world, there wouldn't be a world left to fix.